So my name is Sandro. I'm from London. I'm the founder of the London Software Craftsmanship community that currently has like more than 2,000 developers. And I've been involved with craftsmanship for quite a while now. But before I jump into craftsmanship, how many of you have heard of craftsmanship? Oh, that's good. That's awesome. Cool. But before I go there, I need to talk a little bit about Agile. How many of you are working in an Agile environment, like you use Agile practices? Awesome. Everyone. It's great. Almost everyone. So how many of you have seen this? Yeah, less people than I expect. Okay, so back in February 2001, 17 people met in a ski resort in Utah to bring their ideas together. And they were representatives of XP, DSDM, feature-driven development, Crystal, Scrum. So Agile is not a one thing, because today we bastardized the Agile word. We say, yeah, we do Agile, as if it was a single thing. It's like when you say I have some sort of Agile methodology, and you say, which one? So these people, they got together, and there were guys like Uncle Bob, Martin Fowler, Ron Jeffries, Jeff Sutherland, Dave Thomas, Andy Hunt, Brian Merrick, loads of these great guys. And each one had different ideas, and they got together, shared these ideas, and they came up with Agile. And so then the Agile transformation era began. So after a few years, I'm feeling constrained that I can't move. How can I move? I'm Italian, I'm half Italian, half Brazilian. I cannot speak if I don't move, right? If you tie my hands, I can't move. So it will be challenging. So then a lot of people said, okay, this thing, Agile thing is awesome, like we want to do that. And then all this Agile transformation era began, and I was part of it. I was working for a consultancy company in the UK, and I was part of many Agile transformations. And I can't see my notes either, because my laptop, oh yeah. So, Jesus Christ, can I find a good place to speak here? Yeah, so, and then we used to go to these companies and help them to transform. And then you find like whiteboards everywhere, and then backlogs, user stories, like it was use case, became user stories, and the whole transformation, then post-its, right? Because post-its is the biggest sign of agility. The more post-its you have, the more agile you are, right? So if you have colorful one, then you are a Pokemon super ultra master of universe agile ninja, right? Because you have all these colorful post-its. So, and then we spent 10 years focusing on all these things, like people, bureaucracy, reducing waste. So all this, how to collect requirements and estimations, and all problems that had to be addressed. They were important problems that without them, without addressing them, you wouldn't be successful. So you had to address that. The only problem is Agile took a detour, and all of a sudden, the process became more important than technical excellence. And all that kind of thing that we had in the Agile Manifesto, like where individuals' interactions over process and tools. What is Agile today? It's process. Pure process. And how many tools we have around that? And certifications and all this kind of nonsense. But is this really aligned to the original values of Agile? And what happened was we had these bunch of very opportunistic people, not to use a worse word, that said, well, there is these people wanting to buy Agile. I was never really a good developer anyway. I can't find my place, so I'm going to sell Scrum to these people. And then you have all these, a bunch of Agile coaches running around. And I met great Agile coaches, by the way. So when I say Agile coaches and Scrum Master, I'm talking on average, because people say there is loads of shit developers out there. Oh, think about the Agile coaches and Scrum Masters. You see much more percentage. So, but I met great Agile coaches and Scrum Masters. So I'm talking about average here. But the problem was these people were there trying to help these companies to get better, help them to deliver software projects. But what do they know about software? Nothing. Very little. Well, they went on a 2-day training course and now they are a master of whatever, right? So, and then that led to this. So a lot of agile transformations. Now we had this agile hangover. We went on a 3-year party with post-its everywhere. Everyone was happy. Hey, agile. And then they woke up one day with a big headache and say, yeah, we are as shit as it used to be, right? Our system sucks. And 3 years later, after this agile party here, we still have long cycles to production. We take like forever to go to production. Loads of bugs in production. Every new feature takes 3 months, right? That's the average. So QA, dedicated QA teams. So you go to many companies now, they have this big QA team like there. So a lot of people start asking like, what did this agile do for us, right? The problem is, the main difference, so the main difference that we have today, because there was improvement, I cannot say that there was no improvement with Agile, there was a lot of improvements, and the biggest improvement is now that we see the pile of sheet growing every 2 weeks, right? That's awesome. So every week it's like, yeah, we finished our iteration, yeah, the pile of sheet is bigger now, right? Because nothing was done on the technical side. Process is better, and that's awesome, because without a good process, we wouldn't get anywhere either. So it's not that I'm bashing Agile here. I think that Agile is fantastic. Without Agile, there's no point in delivering good software, because you won't have a good process you will build the wrong thing. The problem is just focusing one side and not on the other. And then, so, yeah, this is not going to work. So a lot of people say, but this isn't fair. Like you say that we are producing sheet every 2 weeks. Like no one wakes up in the morning and say, yeah, I'm going to screw up today. I'm going to write the worst software ever. I'm going to piss everyone off in my company. No one does that. But well, some people do, but they're not, normal people don't do that. So what happens is, like, they want to do a good job, but they are always under pressure. There's always pressure. But I haven't been in a place where there's no pressure. We all want to deliver very fast and deliver quality and all this kind of good stuff. So there's always pressure. Pressure will always be there. But when we work under pressure, what we do, we cut corners, right? So we think that we are doing a favor to our company to go faster, to deliver that thing faster to our manager that is pushing that hard. But we are not. But I realized that we developers, mainly developers, we have the wrong notion of time. Because in a true Agile team, normally developers are sort of in control of the estimation or estimates. So normally the product owner comes along, you have a planning meeting, we discuss the features, and we decide, oh, this will take few days, a few weeks, or so normally we are in control, normally, not always, but if you are in a true Agile place, we can say how long it's going to take. But very rarely we take the time to make our system better. We only think about, yeah, there's this new feature here, it will take 1 hour to create a table in the database, to create 3 hours for the service, it will do X amount of hours to do that, but very rarely think, is our system prepared for this new feature? What do I need to do to make my system better? First, to prepare my system so I can just slide a new feature in. And this is very, very rarely we do that. And we feel that we need to go faster. Even when the managers are not pushing, we still feel this pressure. I remember when I joined this large investment bank, I was new and I sat down I said to these guys, like, can I pair with you? And they said, yeah, whatever. And so I sat down with him, I was just looking at him. And he was like, looking at the code like crazy, looked like the code like crazy, and then he would put some logs, and then package the application, copy it across to another server, bounce the server, deploying the application, pushing a message in a queue. I was in an enterprise application, so pushing XML messages to a queue, and then look at the logs. Look at the logs. And say, no, not there. And then he would go back to local machine, look at the code, put some logs, more logs. You know that type of log that say, you have method A, and say, entered method A. in the middle of method A, end of method A, that type of logs. So, and then package, copy it across, bounce the server, push a message, look at the logs. And I said, look, why don't you just write a unit test? No, we don't have time for it. Right. So why don't you run this locally? Oh, it doesn't run locally. We don't have any stubs or mocks, or we cannot mock the external system. And then 3 hours later, he found something, and then he put a big if statement on top, create a global variable, put a big statement. Yay. Hello, yeah. Okay, much better. Now I can't see my computer. Right. Thank you. Right, and then he was like, he put a big global variable and then jumped everything. And I said, like, why don't you refactor this problem? No, I don't have time. He spent like 3 hours doing that thing. And then when he put a big global, I don't know what this is, copy this across, and then, global variables, keep that shit that I don't know what it is, do this, because he doesn't have time. And apparently, other people have. Is there any QA people here? These guys have nothing better to do, and nothing better with their lives. Their lives is say, no, we just need to get bugs from the shit developers, because that's their life, right? So, we think that we don't have time, but we do. And if you think about how much time is spent in things like that, people debugging code, multiplied by many developers, many teams, it's like, it's just a waste. A lot of a waste of time, and this is our fault. But what is Agile anyway? So, Agile is all about quick and short feedback loop. That's what that is it. That's how it summarizes it. It's all about shortening your feedback loop. Every single Agile methodology, including the XP practices, they're all about, at their core, all about shortening the feedback loop. So you cannot do Agile. Right? It doesn't make sense. In English, it doesn't make sense. Like, you don't do Agile. You can be Agile, but not do Agile, because that doesn't make sense. So the act of shortening the feedback loop gives you the opportunity to react to that feedback that you got. And reacting to this feedback is what gives you the agility, or not. But this is agility. It's reacting constantly to feedback. Anything else is not important. So the problem that we have in the craftsmanship world with Agile is the working software bit. All this bad software that we see out there, all this legacy code, because a lot of people work in an Agile fashion. But almost unanimous, people complain about their software. But you are working in an Agile fashion, right? So why are you complaining about your software? Oh yeah, because Agile for us means Scrum. Yeah, so that's you are right that you'll be complaining. So all this software out there, they are hard to maintain, hard to test, difficult to go to production. It's a pain in the ass. And then it doesn't matter what all these people say about the business and the workflow and the waste and all the lean and Kanban nonsense. So the thing is, at the end of the day, if you're in a software project, the most important deliverable is the software itself. Everything else is a bonus. Of course, that you get good software, you need a good process as well to support that. But you cannot shift this thing. And so let's put a good process. And then we have our magical wand and saying, bing, great software. Now developers know everything what you do. Now they know how to test drive code. We just need some Agile coaches to help us, and bing, great software comes out. That's nonsense. So, what very few people realize, because business people can have the best ideas in the world. They can say, like, we are going to do that and we're going to change the world. We're going to be the best company ever. They are hostages of their own software. Businesses today are hostages. The businesses, they will move just as fast as we developers create or change software. That's as simple as that. Every business today relies on software, and if we don't change and create new software fast enough, they will need to wait. So not paying attention to it is madness, totally madness. And we can't see quality. That's the problem. We can't see. It's normally what we do at the very beginning of a project. We can do things very quickly because there's no code base. There's nothing there, so we can churn features quite quickly. As the software grows and no attention is paid to the quality of it, things get much harder. But then what we do, what we've learned with Agile, we split stories. We split stories, and we split stories until it fits on an iteration. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, one year later, 18 months later, you are happy that you are finishing all your user stories every iteration. So, oh, we have a great Agile team. We have a great velocity. Because we deliver every week, every iteration, whatever it is, 1 week, 2 weeks, we deliver all the user stories. Yeah, but can you even calculate how many stories you should have been delivering, or what these stories represent in terms of features compared to the beginning of the project? So when we realize that we are not, although the burn down charts tell us that we are doing well, when we realize that we are not delivering fast enough, or at least not compared to the beginning, it normally is too late. The whole software is screwed. This is definitely true in some places. So I was once invited to work as a consultant in a big telecom company. And you know when you have these people that you never see, you just see on the website their photos with a suit and tie smiling. So the CEO, CTO. So they want, like in these large organizations, every 6 months or so, they have these big meetings where the CTO comes along, or the CFO, and gives the full speech about how the company is doing. They say, no, because our profits and our margins and our clients, and you are the... And yeah, so that type of meeting. So all of a sudden, everyone was... Well, he was putting some graphics in there, like some spreadsheet stuff, and then at some point said, now I would like a round of applause. They had a QA team that was dedicated QA team, to many teams. So it was a large QA team. Would test many different applications from different teams. So he said, I would like to say that our QA team did a brilliant job this semester. They found, I want a round of applause, because they found more than 1,000 bugs, and everyone was, ah, woo. I was looking at that, it's like, what sort of madness is this? If I was the owner of this company, I would fire half of this company. QA should find nothing, zero, nada. Every bug found by QA is something that we developers haven't done. These guys, QA, they should do nothing. They should be reading newspaper. Or actually, they should contribute in defining user stories and the business, because they have a different mind that we do. Our mind is wired to build things. Their mind is wired to break things. So it's great that they are involved at the beginning of the process and help us to think about acceptance criteria for our business and not doing stupid manual tests. So, craftsmanship. In 2008, Uncle Bob and a few other guys in Chicago, they were very unhappy about the state of Agile. So they got together and said, look, this is not what we had in mind. Back in 2001, that's not what we wanted. So they came up and sat down together and discussed, and they created Software Craftsmanship. And out of this meeting, a few months later, Doug Bradbury wrote the manifesto. So basically, there's a lot of debate on our manifesto. I don't even think that it's that fantastic. I think it's a great manifesto, but not as good as the Agile one. But I'll try to explain what they mean. So the first thing that they addressed was working software. That was not enough. So we want more. We want more than working software. We want well-crafted software. We don't want software that breaks, that we are scared to touch. We want software that is a pleasure to work with, that we can deliver things fast. We are not scared of it. It represents the business. Software that we can press a button and tells us immediately if it's working or not, the entire system. That's what we want. So well-crafted software doesn't mean beautiful code. has nothing to do with it. It's just software that is easy to maintain, to test. It's a pleasure you are not scared of it. You don't fight it. So steadily adding value. So this is just not about bug fixing and adding features. So this is keeping the code clean constantly, and so that our velocity doesn't drop. Our velocity normally drops after some time because the software is shit. And so for me, software is an asset, and it's a huge investment. Think about the amount of money that is paid for everyone involved in a software project. From developers, QA, managers, product owners, agile coaches, salespeople, marketing, everything. And then infrastructure, the office, and then different teams across the ocean or stuff like that. It costs a fortune to run a proper software. I'm not talking about a kid in a garage doing a website. I'm talking about proper software, the things that we do. It costs a fortune. So some people are investing money on it, and they want some return. And so our job, like in these large investment banks and other big companies that I worked with, it was very common to see after 5 years, they were talking about decommissioning software. Oh no, this software now is a bit too old, it's 5 years. We need to decommission that because it's too hard to maintain. So the reason of decommissioning that is not because they didn't need that business. They wanted to, it was impossible to work with the software. It was taking too long. The software is holding them back. So they had to rewrite that. So at that point, after 5 years of investment, I want my return back. I don't want to start throwing that money away and build a new crap, because nothing was done with the people. So they would start a new system with the same people, with the same skills, that will be, and this new system will be as bad as the previous one in 5 years. And that's how the cycles grow. So, community of professionals. This is at the core of craftsmanship. Like, we believe in mentorship, we believe in sharing what we know, we believe in learning with each other. And this is not just outside, but also inside companies. Every company that takes craftsmanship seriously, they would have a community of practice. They will be working together, they will be learning from each other, inside and outside company. And we believe that this is the best way to mentor and train developers, mainly the young ones, is working with them, pairing with them. And one of the one that I like the most is the productive partnership. We don't believe in employers and employee. So I don't think that this relationship is healthy. But this has nothing to do, I don't believe in the figure of an employer and an employee. It doesn't mean the type of contracts that you have. So in one side you have a contract with someone that employs you. That can be a permanent contract, like a permanent employee. It can be a contractor, it can be a consultant. It doesn't matter which type of contract you have. The relationship shouldn't be employer-employee, it should be a partnership. That's what I believe. And in a partnership, we are there not to be told what to do, or not to do what you were told, most importantly, because people try to tell you what to do. So you are there to contribute, to say no, and provide alternatives, and say, look, this is wrong, why don't we do that? Or why do we want to do that? So, because if I understand the reason, we could do X, Y, and Z. So you are there to be a partner, to help them to achieve something. And some people say, but I work hard, I keep my head down, work hard, do my job well. This is not a great partnership. This is a factory worker. That's not what we're looking for, right? We are creative people. So we don't just say, I keep my head down, do what I'm told. This is stupid. Find out a different type of job, because this job is not for you. So, and a lot of people talk about stakeholders. Oh, we have stakeholders in the project. We need to satisfy the stakeholders. I believe that we are also stakeholders. I'm a software craftsman. I'm building my career on software development, delivering software. I don't want to build a career based on failures. So every time that a software craftsman goes to a project, or any software professional, we should strive to make it a success, because we are building a career. So when people talk about stakeholders, at stake for me is my own career. That's what is at stake. So there's not an official definition of craftsmanship. I offer a few. This is one of them. If I had to define software craftsmanship with one word, I would choose professionalism. This is what software craftsmanship is for me. It's professionalism in software development. So I believe that there is a big overlap between craftsmanship and Agile. But I think that Agile shines when we are trying to figure out if we are building the right thing. Agile has loads of great methodologies, great frameworks, great practices that allows us and the business to figure out if what we are building is usable, is valuable, if what we're going to build, the priorities of things that we're going to build is valuable, is useful to someone. So Agile is great for that, like this feedback, this constant feedback. Craftsmanship shines at this one, making sure that we are building the right thing. Building the thing right. Building the thing right is almost like creating foundations. As you are expanding your construction, your building, you are constantly building foundation and then building the building on top. So you are helping the business while you are building right to progress, to keep increasing their software and growing. The problem that we have is here in Agile, we have many ways to get feedback. But how do we get feedback from our quality? How do we get feedback from technical practices? And the answer is this. This is 50. How many of you have seen this before? Few hands. Okay, half, more than half. The answer is XP. It's going back to basics. It's going back to the origins of Agile through software Agile development. So things like whole team, collective ownership, all these things, we didn't need Scrum for this. So it's all in XP already. If you read these core practices, you see that working short iterations, have a single team, business part of the team available to you. All of these was in XP more than 15 years ago. But what it brings to the table are all the technical disciplines. So for us to get feedback of what we want, we need to have some good disciplines. It's a shame that this is forgotten during many Agile transformations. And what I find is you don't need to ask authorization. A lot of people come to me and say, but my team doesn't allow me to do that. My manager, my company, you should see my manager. He's a monster with 7 heads. And so you don't ask authorization to doing certain things. I don't ask authorization to do unit tests. I don't ask authorization to pair. I don't ask authorization to any of these nonsense. I just do it. And you don't need to. These people, business people, they are interested in getting the software done, ready, goes to production, no bugs. That's what they are interested in. They don't care how you're going to do that. And the more you keep telling them the details of how you're going to do something, the worse it will be. You are inviting them to micromanage you. So you should never have, if you have a task in your board called unit test, so you have like services tables, like all the tasks for a user story, and one called unit test, stop, please. Delete that. Throw it away. Unit test is part of other things. All the other things that you are doing, they need to be tested. So test is part of it. It doesn't matter if you're manually testing or unit testing. It shouldn't be visible, because then otherwise what your product owner will do is say, 3 hours for unit test. Yeah, I'm deprioritizing that. So, but we struggle to prove the value of these things. We struggle as developers. We struggle to go to managers and product owners and the business in general and talk about the value of this process. Because what we do, we have developers' problem. They have managers' problem. We don't speak the same language. So what we should do is talk about value. Because that's what they are interested, value, feedback. So let's talk automated tests. Wouldn't it be nice if I could press a button, and in a matter of minutes, I would have seconds or minutes, I would know if my system is working. And if it's not working, what is broken. Wouldn't it be nice if every time that we add a new feature, regardless how many developers, how many teams, every time, click a button, it tells us. That's feedback loop. That's value. How long it would take for us to know that the entire system is working. How many time QA would take? Days, weeks, depends on large organizations, maybe even more than a month. I can say the same thing in a few minutes. Value, feedback loop. Test-driven development. Help us to decouple our system. Help us to design software well. Give us constant feedback as we are, because when you want to implement a new piece of functionality, we express what that functionality is in the form of a test, and then you write code just to satisfy that. So it gives us immediate feedback that that functionality that we wanted is now working. So that's constant feedback loop. And on top of that, as a side effect, provides documentation. As a side effect, provides all the automated tests. So, like regression tests. That's once again, that's feedback loop. That's value. Continuous integration. You have multiple people working on the same code base, sometimes collocated. I was in a project with 10 teams in 5 different countries. I'm going to start working with a new department, 13 teams, 5 different countries, 3 different continents. Isn't it nice when someone, somewhere in Singapore, push a piece of code, in 2 minutes or 3 or 5, I get an email in my inbox and say, this feature was added, system is working. This system was added, system is not working, it's broken. That's value. That's feedback loop. How long it would take for us to figure out when you have all these people. That's what I'm talking about. Value, feedback loop. So refactoring, the same thing. We are constantly preparing our system to accept new changes. So that's value. We can add constantly throughout the project as we keep it clean, keep refactoring. Not just after the red-green refactor cycle, but before writing a feature. This is one of the most important refactorings that you should do. It's not when you finish writing the code. It's before you start it. You start a new story, a new feature. Is my system prepared for this feature? Can I just slide that in, or I'm going to need to take a hammer and then hammer it down? So you refactor it, and then now you just slide the new feature in. So you prepare your system. So that's value, that's feedback loop. Keep you going fast. And pair programming. Immediate feedback loop. I write some piece of code. This is, what is this? What is this variable? Why are you using this API? We already have a module for that. It's immediate feedback loop. Whatever I do, or he does, we have immediate feedback loop. So what also helps to share knowledge. Each developer knows more about something than others. Pairing will allow us to learn more, to bring new people up to speed faster. Remove key man dependency. So even if Bob is on holiday, we don't need to wait for Bob to come back, because no one can work on that piece of code. That's value. That's feedback loop. So we shouldn't discuss practices. When discussed with business, we don't discuss practices. We discuss value. So and if they say, I don't want you to do X, I say, that's totally fine, Mr. Business. So what should we do instead that give us more value than that? Because that's the conversation that you want to have. It's not that they don't allow me to do pairing, they don't allow me to do that. So what do we currently do that give us more value than that? Because I don't care which practices we use. I care about what type of value I get. So, but of course, that learning practices take time. So certain practices take far longer than others. Learning Scrum takes, read 15 pages, and training course. So certain software disciplines may take years. So we need to be honest and saying, like, if you have a team that is not experienced and is adopting a new practice, whichever practice that is, they will suffer performance at the beginning. Their velocity is going to drop. That's natural. Every time that you're learning something new, we will be slower than compared to how we used to do before, until we get better at it, and hopefully we will be faster. So we need to keep monitoring this to figure out if the new practice that we adopt is actually, because if you are not going up after a certain point, we need to rethink if that practice is really good for us, or if we are doing it right. If it's not good and we are doing it right and it's not good for us, stop doing that. Go back to whatever you were doing. But I could not come to an Agile conference without having a triangle in my presentation. Because that makes me smart, right? So, Agile conference, you need to have a triangle in there. Normally this one, that's very common. This was used 1 billion times. Pick 2, right? Yay, look how smart I am, right? You can just have 2 of them. Wow. Rubbish. Rubbish. Cost can be quantifiable. I know how much it costs. Like every week we spend X amount of euros in this project. If you need to buy a server, I know how much it costs. If you need to pay our infrastructure in the cloud, I know how it costs. Time, easily quantifiable. Easily, right? 24 hours per day, like 60 minutes per hour. Very easy to quantify time and money. Quantify quality. How do you do that? But before I get to that, we always think that we need to sacrifice, we need to trade, you need to trade off quality for something else. Oh, if you want quality, we need to pay more or spend more time. Rubbish. It's a lie. It all depends on who is doing the job. Simple as that. Cost and time doesn't change. It doesn't matter who is doing what. It's a unit, measurable unit. If you get someone that is very inexperienced in certain practices that you want, and want that person to achieve extremely high quality, of course that this person will take longer. Of course it will take longer. So we will be trading off quality, whatever that means, for time. Or if you need to train these people, yeah, you need to invest some money to get that quality. So there is a trade-off there somewhere. But what if your team had people that were fluent with the practices? You are not trading off anything. Because you will say, oh, but developers, the great developers cost more money. Developers are not football players, unfortunately, for me. Because like football players, the great ones playing the national squad, they earn millions of euros. And the rubbish ones in the minor league, third division, they earn like a coffee at the end and the bus ticket. Developers are not that. Developers normally are quite similar. There's not a huge difference. People cannot even distinguish them, the great and the bad. So it's a lie to say that we are trading off quality for something else. What we just need is better developers. And we will pay roughly the same amount of money. So we are not trading off anything to get quality. But there is one thing that is very important. Quality cannot be measured. Cannot. Stop with this nonsense. This is managers talking. Why do we need to measure something? Because we don't understand it. That's why we are desperate to measure, because I don't know what these guys do. I need to measure this. It's very simple. Try to define quality. You cannot measure something that you cannot define. So the only way to have a very accurate measurement, if you can precisely define what you are measuring. Define quality. Because if you can, you should be a millionaire by now, or you are completely deluded. Because there's so many variants in defining quality. There's so many, it's not at the same level of cost and time. It's completely different. It means different people in different places at different points in time. So the only reason that people want and are obsessed with measuring, when you have great developers working together, no one talks about measuring quality. They just talk about measuring quality are the managers, product owners that understand nothing about software development, and they are unhappy how the project is going. So they are desperate to find a measure to control that. They are not going to find it. So, and then they go to things like that. This is dangerous. It's like giving a gun to a child. Right. So, do you use SonarQube, or if you are doing Java? Some of you. So, yeah, don't show that to any manager. Anyone. Keep it hidden. Don't show. Don't never expose the URL to anyone. Right. When they have access to this thing, they want to measure. They have no clue what that means. All the graphics and all that. Elcom 4. Wow, that sounds great. They want to measure that. But then the only one that they may get an idea is like code coverage. And they want to use it. And they have managers with targets, like set by the big man up the clouds and say, your team needs to achieve 70% of code coverage by the end of the year, and then you have a big bonus. 70%. Where this number came from? Right, so what about the other 30%? But the thing is, code coverage, what it means? Code coverage means the percentage of code executed by a test code. Executed, not tested. So I can achieve close to 100% without writing a single assertion, a single test. I can get close to 100%. I just need to call from a test class, call some production code with some parameters, make sure that it goes through the code, but I don't need to test what happens. I'll get the coverage. They can be gained, easy. I won't tell a story about this. We were hired to increase the code coverage in a system. They couldn't do themselves, they were too busy doing other things. They hired a consultancy company to take their code base and write unit tests to achieve 70%. And the developers had no idea. They would keep producing code, breaking the test, we would go there, fix. Crazy story. Sad, actually. So, software craftsmanship is a journey to mastery. That's what I feel. I feel that we are in this journey trying to achieve mastery, trying to be great at what we do. We will never achieve mastery, but this journey, the journey of trying to achieve mastery is what excites me. That's what about craftsman. That's what is craftsmanship for me. And I'm running out of time badly. So I'm going to go, so there is the attitude of a craftsman. The main thing for me is the passion. It's the passion that we have to do things well. It's not because we care about our companies and managers. We do things well. We craft our solutions because we want to, because we like, because we love it. That's what one of the attitudes of a craftsman, one of the characteristics of a craftsman. We love what we do. And we will do it well, regardless who is paying, regardless where we are working, because we want to, not because we are told to. Career ownership. I was working with this guy, joined this company, same time, 1 month apart, but roughly same time, worked in the same project for a year. We went separate ways. Almost 5 years later, or 4 years later, in fact, we used to see each other, but then we were working again in the same project. Same company. So I asked him, oh, how are you doing? And they said, man, don't like this company. So why is that? So, this company shit. Why? 5 years. 4 years at that. 4 years. They never bought me a book. Never sent me to a conference. Never bought me a training course. All the projects, oh shit projects, legacy stuff. Don't like this company, man. I had a very different experience. Had a few promotions, got everything that I needed from the company, everything that I asked they gave me. I was no different. The only difference is that I wanted to learn more. So I was taking my personal time to learn, and so I could offer more. In a consultancy company specifically, the more you know, the more you learn, the easier it is for this consultancy to put into clients. So you become more valuable. But this guy was just waiting to receive something from the company. So I asked him, who owns your career? He didn't understand the question. And I said, like, so if they don't give you anything, what you're going to do? You're going to let them control their career, or you're going to do something about it? He never understood what I was talking about, and I stopped the conversation. But that's a craftsman never would blame someone for something that we don't know. It's my career, I take ownership of it. I will go out and I will learn. I will take my own personal time, my own money, and I will do that. If I find a company that sponsors me, that allows me to do that, that's a bonus. That's a great company to work for. But it's not their obligation. Because we don't do that when we hire solicitors. We don't do that when we hire lawyers. We don't do that when we go to our hairdressers. We don't go to a hairdresser and say, I want this haircut. And then the hairdresser says, oh, can you buy me a book? Can you pay me a training course? because I don't know how to do it. And then imagine that you are crazy in your head and say, yeah, sure, Mr. Hairdresser, go there, learn this new cut. And then he goes there, get this expensive training course, come back, and charge you for the service. Is that what we do? Is this being professional? Yeah, so we practice a lot. That's how we gain our knowledge. We take our time and we practice. And we practice not just for the sake of it, we practice to be perfect. I don't practice to solve a Sudoku or all these small katas for the sake of it, because I won't get money solving Sudoku or any other kata. What I'm practicing when I'm doing that is perfect code. How can I perfectly write a test or name it or express my domain? But that's what I'm practicing. And the Boy Scout rule is like always leave the campground cleaner than you found it. So this is embedded in us as well. Every time that we do something and that we take that to our personal life, every time that we do something, we try to leave it in a better state. So I'm going to run out of time. So very quickly, there was this fire in the forest. And the lion, Mr. King of the jungle, was helping the animals to move away from the fire. Come on, let's move away. This is going to kill us all. And then all of a sudden, he saw this hummingbird flying to the lake nearby, putting some water in his beak, and then coming back and pouring that one drop of water. And then the lion said, like, are you crazy, hummingbird? Like, you will never be able to put off this fire. And the hummingbird said, yes, I know, but at least I'm doing my part. And that is being a craftsman as well. When you are working in an organization, don't excuse saying, no one does that, so I won't do it. Either you do it or you leave the company. But don't excuse. So, yeah, no one does it, so it's okay to throw paper here because everyone does it anyway. So, a good developer is not a Java developer. A good developer is not a C# developer. A good developer is not a Ruby, a Python developer. A good developer is a developer, period. We use the tools that we find more useful for the job. We don't constrain ourselves for the very little thing that we know. And there's no dogmas. Like, one thing that we need to be very careful is not to transform the things that we know and love into religion. Right? So I'm not here to say that all of you should now become craftsmen and go ahead. I don't care. It's your career, not mine. I know what I'm doing with mine. So Agile, Java, functional programming, NoSQL, Kanban, all awesome. Awesome stuff. Within a context, all these things are great. But none of them can be applied everywhere. And that's when they become religion. Because that's what we know, we want to apply it everywhere. So, Software Craftsmanship is not a church, as I said. It's not about beautiful code, TDD, technical practices. It's about delivering value. So, I will skip a little bit. I cannot answer this question in a way that is satisfactory to everyone, but I'll tell you what it means to be a software craftsman for me. When I was very young, early days of my career, I started coding when I was 11, went to university when I was 17, and graduated when I was 21. In theory, I was typing on the keyboard for 10 years. And at that point, and I played with quite a few languages during this period. At that point, when you have youth combined to some knowledge, it leads to arrogance. And boy, I was the most arrogant developer ever. I thought that I was invincible. I was the best ever. No one would be. Everyone that in my university, shit, I was great. And then there was this big consultancy company that they opened a very large selection process. They would be hiring 60 people in one go. And they would have a very long selection process where you had to go there, do the interviews. Yeah, okay. So anyway, so I had to go through 4 phases of interview, group dynamics. I had to resign from my job because one of them was a training course for 2 weeks and then a test in a proprietary technology. So I resigned from a job without even knowing if I would get the other one, but that's what I wanted to do. I passed 34 people passed. I felt awesome. I said, wow, I'm great. So after 3 months that I joined this company, I was allocated to one team, and I kept hearing about this great guy, this great team. The architecture team had this amazing developer as a manager, and this team that was the center of this large organization. Well, if it's the best team in the company, of course I need to be there, right? So I saw this manager in the coffee area one day alone, and I went there. Hi, I'm Sandro. And he said, yeah, hi. I said, I want to work for you. I didn't even know what to say. And then he said, okay. And then we had a chat for 30 minutes. And he said, yeah, sure, you can start. So is that it? He never asked me a single technical question. He just asked me what I wanted to do, what I liked, and things that I was doing with code at home. He was measuring my passion. For 30 minutes, he was measuring my passion for software development. That was the interview. And I just came to learn that years later. So Monday morning, I was there. He came along to my desk, said, okay, I'm going to give you this task. And that was my chance to shine. So I said, how many days do I have to do that? He said, oh, today's Monday, you have until Friday. And okay, so I need to finish that. So I did that in 2 days, went to his office, and he said, so he looked at my code, and I was great, did that quickly. And then he said, he went through the code, destroyed it. Shit, bang, 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 sucked. Destroyed my code. And then he went there and said, did you understand everything that I said to you? How you can make it better? I said, yeah. He deleted it. Deleted the code and asked me to do it again. Because I finished Friday, so do it again. I wanted to resign. I was screaming. I was shouting. I said, I'm not going to work for these people, until I realized, many times later, that he took the time to teach me. He took the time after 10 years, someone finally took the time to show me that I was not as good as I thought I was. To show me there are better ways. To show me that I should care about what I do. And for 2.5 years, I worked with these guys, and I didn't find just someone to help me. I found my first mentor. I found someone to make me better, someone that taught me the values of software craftsmanship even before it was coined. Everyone cared, and I learned the values of working in team. You cannot go back in time to find these people. It's too late now. But what you can do is you can be this person to someone. You can help people. You can help them to develop. And that is what craftsmanship is for me. Thank you.